Welcome to the Mind Spark, bringing you the latest news from around the world. We begin tonight with a promise to American workers that the jobs of yesterday would return, that factories would roar back to life. But what if the very policies designed to protect them are doing the opposite? Ford, Harley-Davidson, General Electric. These aren't just brands. They're symbols of American ingenuity and strength. Now, that dream is being tested as iconic companies are packing up and leaving. Not because of foreign competition, but because of American policy. Tariffs meant to shield them have become a burden, raising costs and forcing production overseas. Tonight, we're not just talking numbers. We're talking about the real-world consequences for the people and communities built around these factories. This is the story of 6 major American companies and their dramatic decision to leave. Let's get after it. Ford isn't just a car company. It's the company that put America on wheels. For generations, a Ford job meant stability and a piece of the American dream. But when tariffs on steel and aluminum hit, Ford's costs soared by $1 billion. That's money lost to policy, not invested in American innovation or jobs. Instead, Ford shifted more production overseas, to places like Mexico and Europe, to survive. The promise was to make America the manufacturing capital again. But the reality pushed Ford to invest elsewhere. For workers in Michigan and Ohio, it feels like betrayal. The ripple effect devastates communities and families who built their lives around these jobs. For many, the answer is painfully clear. It's not the American worker. The American dream is unraveling, not from foreign threats, but from within. Few sounds are more American than a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. For over a century, Harley has been a symbol of freedom, built in places like Milwaukee and York. But when the US imposed tariffs on European steel, the EU struck back, targeting Harleys with a 31% tariff. The financial hit was immediate, up to $100 million a year. Harley couldn't absorb the cost, so they moved production for European bikes out of the US. The bikes that symbolized American freedom would now be built overseas. The White House, once a supporter, now called Harley a traitor. For workers in York and Milwaukee, it was a gut punch. Resources and growth were shifting abroad. A policy designed to punish foreign countries ended up punishing an American icon. The roar of a Harley may still sound like freedom, but for many bikes, that freedom is no longer made in the USA. General Electric, co-founded by Thomas Edison, once symbolized American progress. But as tariffs hit, GE's global supply chains were thrown into chaos. Steel and aluminum tariffs raised costs for everything from jet engines to wind turbines. Retaliatory tariffs made it harder to sell abroad. GE faced rising costs at home and shrinking markets overseas, a billion-dollar blow. Unlike Ford or Harley, GE's retreat was quiet. Production lines moved, investments shifted abroad, jobs slowly bled away. The myth of a purely American product faded. GE's DNA is global. Tariffs tried to force a nationalistic model onto a global system, but GE had to move more pieces outside America to survive. X-ray components went from Wisconsin to Japan, turbines from the US to France. No dramatic closures, just a slow, steady erosion of American jobs and investment. Communities felt the ground shift, fewer hires, canceled expansions, lost growth. The good things GE brought to life were now being made elsewhere. GE's story is a cautionary tale. Protectionist policies can poison the giants they aim to protect. Disrupted supply chains forced GE to retreat from its American roots. The silent giant grew quieter at home, louder overseas. The lesson in a global economy: walls don't protect, they isolate. The cost is paid in lost jobs, lost innovation, and lost opportunity. America's industrial core is quietly slipping away. Caterpillar, king of heavy machinery, built its legacy on global reach. But tariffs on imported steel hit hard, driving up US manufacturing costs by up to $200 million in just 6 months. Caterpillar responded by raising prices worldwide, passing the cost of American tariffs to customers everywhere. But the bigger shift was in investment. Caterpillar began expanding factories abroad, not at home. Why build in a high-cost environment when you can build affordably elsewhere? The paradox tariffs meant to encourage domestic production actually discouraged it. Future growth and jobs were now more likely in China, Brazil, or India. American competitiveness was undermined by American policy. Every sale lost to a foreign rival was a loss for American workers and suppliers. The policy dug a competitive hole for Caterpillar, one it may not climb out of. Caterpillar's story shows the danger of one-size-fits-all trade policy. Trying to save one industry created new problems for a global leader. In today's world, you can't wall off one part of the economy without casting a shadow over the rest. For Caterpillar, the path to growth now leads away from home. The cost lost sales, lost jobs, lost leadership. The lesson protectionism can export the very industrial base it aims to protect. America's builders are being forced to build elsewhere. The future of American industry is at stake. Whirlpool's story is a cautionary tale of unintended consequences. Unlike others, Whirlpool lobbied for tariffs on imported washing machines, hoping to protect American jobs. They got what they wanted. Tariffs were imposed, and Whirlpool promised new jobs in Ohio. But the celebration was short-lived. Soon after, sweeping steel and aluminum tariffs hit, driving up Whirlpool's raw material costs. The benefits of washing machine tariffs were wiped out by higher steel prices. Whirlpool's profits shrank, and the company had to raise prices on appliances, hurting American consumers. The promise of new jobs faded as financial strain forced cost-cutting. To stay competitive, Whirlpool leaned more on foreign operations, producing goods where steel wasn't so expensive. The irony: the champion of protectionism was forced to rely on the foreign production it once fought against. Whirlpool's narrow victory became a Pyrrhic one, winning the battle, losing the war. The lesson: you can't protect one industry in a vacuum. Tariffs created a cascade of conflicting consequences, hurting the very people they aim to help. Whirlpool's experience exposes the contradictions of piecemeal protectionism. Even when a company wins the trade battle it wants, it can lose the broader economic war. The cost: higher prices, lost jobs, and a less competitive America. Whirlpool's story is a warning for all who believe in simple solutions to complex problems. Protectionism's failures are profound and painfully real. The American worker pays the price. Tesla is the face of America's industrial future. High-tech, innovative, and bold. Elon Musk's vision: build electric cars in America and export them to the world. But when the trade war hit, China slapped a 40% tariff on US-made cars. Tesla's sales in China plummeted. American-made cars became too expensive. The dream of a California factory supplying the world was dead. Musk pivoted. If he couldn't export cars to China, he'd export the factory. Tesla built a massive gigafactory in Shanghai, avoiding tariffs and competing on equal footing. The factory went up in record time, with strong support from the Chinese government. The Shanghai plant became a cornerstone of Tesla's global strategy. Instead of scaling up US operations, Tesla built self-sufficient hubs overseas. The jobs and innovation needed to serve China were now Chinese jobs. The Shanghai Gigafactory became a model for future expansion, like the one in Berlin. The US was no longer the center of Tesla's universe. Tariffs incentivized Tesla to decentralize manufacturing. The lesson: protectionism didn't bring jobs home, it sent them abroad. The future of electric vehicles and the jobs that come with them may be built elsewhere. Tesla's story is a glimpse into the future of economic conflict. It's not about saving old jobs, it's about losing the jobs of tomorrow. The cost: lost leadership in the industries of the future. America's next generation of innovation is at risk. 6 companies, 6 American stories, each pointing to the same painful truth. The promise of protectionism was to bring jobs home, but the reality has been more damaging. Tariffs raised costs, invited retaliation, and drove investment away from the US. Instead of a manufacturing renaissance, we saw a strategic retreat. The price isn't just dollars, it's lost opportunities, lost innovation, and jobs that will never return. The cost is real, and it's being paid by American workers. Are we building a prosperous future, or just winning a political argument? Let's get after it.